and welcome to the third virtual CIO Conclave and Awards being organized by Elets Technomedia. I welcome all the esteemed panelists to a discussion on CIOs Perspective technology trends to dominate the manufacturing industry in 2022 and beyond. Joining us today, we have Mr. Rupesh Nen, Chief Information Officer, Natural Resources, Adani Group. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Shubhakar Rudra, Chief Information Officer, WPIL Limited. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Rajesh Datta, Chief Information Officer, Usha Martin Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ramasubramaniam R, General Manager IT, TTK Prestige Limited. Welcome, sir. And Mr.
Thanks
Pradeep
for
Patro.
hosting me here. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pradeep Patro, Head of Cybersecurity and IT Platform, KEC International Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Karan. Thank you.
So we will dive straight into the discussion as we have a lot of ground to cover. So, Mr. Subramaniam, I will begin with you, and if you could, probably share your thoughts on what the future beholds for the manufacturing sector in terms of technology and trends.
Thanks for having me here. So, the manufacturing industry as a whole, it has changed over the years. In the last 2 years, there is a sort of dynamic transformations are happening, especially with the COVID pandemic and also the recent geopolitical situations that's happening. So when we are talking about technology as well as the threats, let me start with the technologies. Manufacturing industries of mid-size of large size, now there is a need or there is a essential about accelerating the digital transformation everywhere. So whether the industry in FMCG or it's a CPG or a engineering player, there is an essential need for the industry or the organization to adopt various technologies to ensure that the operational efficiencies are achieved as per the new set of targets. And the next point is that when we are talking about hybrid work is going to be there forever. And for manufacturing industry, this hybrid work is going to be little challenging. Since most of the manufacturing industry similar to ours, they are not used to hybrid work in nature. When we are talking about tech industries or technological organizations, hybrid work or work from home is order of the day. So the conditions are going to be favorable for hybrid work. When we are talking about hybrid work, the front end shop floor is going to operate within the organization, and support departments or support functions are going to be hybrid in nature, be it a planning, be it a sourcing, be it a HR or IT for manufacturing. So it's a combination, and it calls for a new set of collaborations within the manufacturing industries. When we are talking about collaboration, there are new set of technologies are available, and these collaborative technologies have supported or enabled the manufacturing industries over the years. But unfortunately, their presence was not felt or the importance were not recognized. Now, the manufacturing industries, having seen the external conditions, they started understanding about these collaborative technologies. When we are talking about improving the operational efficiencies, there are process automation technologies available in today's world. So these process automations are helping manufacturing industries, not only manufacturing, even allied business functions also, to support them and automate, crash the lead time, and go to market scenarios are met in a quick fashion. When you are talking about operational efficiencies or effectiveness in a manufacturing industries, there are IoTs which is gaining momentum to improve the process efficiencies, even not only on process side, even for the products also smart products are available. And IoT with AI and ML is playing a big role in the coming days, which is going to transform furthermore. And when we are talking about threats, today we have surveillance within the organization can happen through the video footages through CCTV. There are analytics can be derived out of these surveillances, and also people can understand, the monitoring team or the security team can understand about any threats arising out of infiltration or penetration within the perimeters or inside the organization. Coming back, the new order of the day, especially in manufacturing, is that chatbots will be playing a big role in supporting the employees, especially the queries or the support that is essential for manufacturing employees. Chatbots are going to play a role, and HR team will get relieved out of some portion of their responsibilities in the coming days. And also there are technologies on virtual personal assistants for shop floor people that's happening, and also we could see that it's gaining momentum, so that each one of the employee can function with high efficiency as well as effectiveness in their role. And another point which we are also actually experimenting or we are planning to take up is about traceability, product traceability in a large enterprise. Tracking and tracing of the products, inventories, high value goods, tools, fixtures. So we are experimenting with QR codes. So, from one manufacturing unit to another manufacturing unit, tools movement are happening. So, to track and trace these tools as well as fixtures, QR code will be of immense help. So, to summarize that, it's quite interesting. As an organization, we have huge set of such initiatives which we have explored and then planning for our employees, especially the manufacturing workforce. And certainly, we hope that these technologies are going to bring in effectiveness as well as efficiency, and finally operational excellence in the organization.
Right, right. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Very insightful to know about that. Mr. Rupesh, if you could probably share your views on the same question on the what future beholds for the manufacturing sector in terms of technology and trends.
Yeah. So, in terms of the changes in the manufacturing industry, so from ages we have OT systems in manufacturing being used. But now with the internet and IoT coming up, this has taken a different shape. It has come out of the boundaries of the organization. So that is one big shift. Second, earlier it was mainly the market for the OEMs, and customers were waiting for the product to be rolled out. And now the customers have their desires, their wishes, they want a product to be very, very specific to their needs. So that has also changed the whole dynamics. So rather than mass production, now it is more about customization and personalization. So these two are the biggest trend which I see. To enable them, definitely digital technologies, as our earlier friend has shared about the IoT, the AIML, the AR, VR, other stuff. Similarly, if you see the robotics is also for some time in the industry. But now we are talking about human machine interface. So it is not only when robots are used, but it is robots are working in conjunction with the human manpower, are they are enabling and doing the work which is more suited to robots and helping the workman at the shop floor to do a more qualitative job and a job which is not repetitive in nature. And most of the repetitive and work where more precision is required, robots are being used. So they are being used hand in hand. To lastly, if you see whatever product you make, at the end it has to be consumed by a customer. So customer experience is equally important. So from that angle, whole ecosystem, whatever you produce, you see from the customer eyes that okay, whether how much quantity, variants, or form and shapes it will be accepted. So understanding customer requirements is equally important. When we say on the outer side customer, the supply chains are equally important. And with the recent disruption happening in the pandemic times, the flexible supply chains are equally important. So it is not that traditionally way I have my sources defined and only I can get material from them. If suppose those supply chains are disrupted, how quickly, how flexibility is there in the ecosystem that I can source the material which is required for my production.
Right.
So these are, I see major new changes or trends which are not absolutely new, but have come from the earlier aspects. But due to the various changes happening on the customer side, on the technology side, and on the overall ecosystem, these have changed and it has made a huge impact on the overall landscape of manufacturing lines. So typically, if you say earlier, we used to have batch production and number of machines were produced in a day. Now it is more important how many variants you can create from the same production lines. So that from that angle, your MES systems, wherein we talk about the traceability, the quality, and even if at the far end, if you see the customer has already purchased an item, but after 2 years, if there is a something wrong happens, we are able to trace down that under which conditions the product was made, and we can link that problem to the source of that. Lastly, I will say is again amalgamation of this is the smart products. So now even the products are getting smarter. You are able to talk to the products, whether it is I worked in heavy construction equipment. Even there our machines were able to speak to the operator, able to speak to the distributor, able to speak to the OEM to identify when the service is due, when any particular component is going to failure, all these alerts. And now if you see in most of the CPG FMCG companies, even the products are becoming more and more smart. So that way there is a lot of change happening in the manufacturing side. Of course, I would say it has grown up from the basics, but now with the advent of technologies, it has taken a different shape. So this is
Right,
my
right.
viewpoint.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Subakar, if you can answer this question, can I have your views also, please?
Sure. Thank you. Uh, uh, However, I do. I'm looking at it. The question that you have put forth, I'm looking at it in a different manner. For me, in manufacturing, the future in manufacturing, it is less about new tech. It is less about new tech. It is more of, adoption trends. Availability of technology options has never been an issue with the manufacturing industry. Thanks to the Industry 4.0 initiatives or Fourth Industrial Revolution, whichever we call it, enough relevant and exciting technologies are out there. Uh, in manufacturing, the future is more about, its adoption trend. This is as from my experience what I'm saying. Trust me, there are enough relevant technologies out there. But where we are lacking in adoption, in terms of adoption. So what I'm more looking forward to, the future of the adoption trend, and how this adoption of these fantastic techs are being prioritized, and what it is all about, how it is being taken up. That is more important to me when it comes to the future of manufacturing. So, in my opinion, three of the major uh, adoption trends that we are going to experience in manufacturing in the coming days are, uh, and necessarily in this order, uh, it is IIoT, industrial IoT, which I see getting adopted much faster than any other technology. Yes, there are other technologies, as Mr. Nayan was saying, and those are also relevant. But given we have to consider from our aspect, we are not in Europe, we are not in US. From the way we Indians do adopt technologies, the order that I am laying out is from that perspective mainly. So I expect that IIoT is going to be adopted much faster than the rest of the technologies, and I will tell you why. Because these interconnecting devices and industrial level applications of manufacturing, um, and those that are there in the industrial setup, bringing in these intelligent sensors, facilitating cloud connectivity, etc. These would actually lead to the collection of data, which which in turn actually is expected to arm the manufacturers, right, with valuable insights to ensure better and faster decision making. And so I expect these to be adopted faster than other technologies. And next to it, I'm expecting AI to be adopted in terms of this IIoT. After IIoT, I expect the AI to be adopted most, as we all know that terabytes of data is flowing almost from every tool on the shop floor, and that needs to be translated to your interpretable information, and which can be and obviously so that it can be interpreted to help in reducing cost and increase efficiency, which is the one of the primary targets, right, of any management it would be. And I was just going through one data, a survey that was carried out by Deloitte, which says that 90%, 93%, I'm sorry, of companies believe that AI will be a pivotal technology to drive growth and innovation in the sector. So that is pretty encouraging. So, and the third one I will say, and I will take this lead from Mr. Nayan, about robotics. Third technology that I expect that is to be adopted would be the robotics. Considering the reduction in cost, it might brought into optimizing the workflow, increasing bottom line. So it is expected to take the automation in manufacturing further, because automation is not something new to manufacturing. It has been always there. What we are expecting, we are assuming that more investments are going to happen in redefining this existing automation by moving more and more towards robotics, and the expected benefits are all there. That is the cost reduction, workflow optimization, increasing bottom line. So, in my opinion, these are the three technologies which I expect, where I expect to see more and more adoption in near future.
Right, right. Perfect. Very interesting, Mr. Subakar. Mr. Pradipta, if I can quickly also have your thoughts on this, query that has received very insightful information from the rest of the panelists.
Yeah, of course. I just already my panelists already having highlighted those critical technologies or important technologies already in place, or it is in everybody like in a manufacturing industry is adopting those journey already started. The journey is the way evolution is happening for industry 4.0. Everybody started adopting those because that is the way forward for us. Whether you talk about the industrial cloud or data lake or IML or robotics or talking about the digital twin, all those AR, VR part of it. Definitely, this is completely the supply chain system is critical process in the manufacturing industry where we are seeing more of those technologies to be adopted. In that critical component, I can say about today is that impact is happening in the cloud side of it. Most of our workloads and most of the data analysis and the data lake part of it, it is moving towards the cloud because its cloudification is happening. Even though the industrial area also we are talking about IoT, or we are talking about the private network, all those moral of is happening towards the cloud now. And if you see today, most critical component is also in the network. And while you do the lot of automation, there is a key parameter is the network part of it. Whether it is a private network, we can create a 5G, or you have the private LTE or LoRa kind of technology in the industrial areas. That evolution is coming up very fast, and the 5G is at the verge of people are trying to adopt those into their certain privately also. It is not on the public side of it. Private side also you can use the throughputs, and in fact in the further use cases is that industry and plants is heavily the industries are evaluating this. And apart from that, if you see the smart city kind of area where a lot of sensors are in place, a lot of automations are in place, but where the data goes, it goes to certain places where you can do that analysis and coming to the desired outcome to that all that what the data you are getting into from the ground level. So definitely this 5G kind of private network or 5G kind of setup, which is public and private, will be helping all those to enabling those. Okay. Apart from that, as I said, that supply chain management, yes, key processes where we need to have a lot of technology called blockchain. We can also think about those perspective where we can pointing out of the blockchain side of it, and also we can see about uh, moral of the collaboration is already highlighted. But again, somewhere we have seen that there is a lot of evolution is happening in the edge side of it, edge computing side of it, where most of the power or the decision making should be happening in the edge side of it, and we can get a lot of insights from the edge itself. So, okay, so that is where it is evolving. The industry technology is evolving towards the edge, intelligent edge side of it, or edge computing side of it. As I said, the private network is one of the 5G is another big revolutions will be bringing to the market, where it is the high throughputs, all the devices be interconnected. Even though it will not surprise that even though every household will be the part of the systems. So that is where it is going towards, and that the industrial is coming manufacturing, but it is out of context. And part of is the drone is carrying the bigger role in this case. This is a lot of use cases. If you talk about the industry and manufacturing, these are the key technologies, and that technology is coming to impact completely ecosystem of the manufacturing industries, whether it is a supply chain side of it or manufacturing, robotic, or and most important thing is all that equipment, whatever we have in that manufacturing plant or the systems, it should be automated remotely. It should not be having more depending on the people side of it. Okay, so today the pandemic has shown that way. In the digital transformation, we have our panelist has already highlighted how you are going to manage that completely plant in front of your system. That is the people are thinking about. So if you are some system in the you can put it but changes on the configuration here in front of system, it should changes on your plant itself. So those things people are thinking it adapting very fast. Because of the pandemic, the way it has been shown, people are not coming to the plant. It doesn't mean that the production should be stopped, right? It's never. The supply is always, the demand is always there into that perspective, certain industries, if you say.
Right.
So definitely, these are the digital twin side of it, your regression side of it, your cloudifications. We have blockchain, we have private network, 4G, and edge computing. These are also impacting the complete industry as a whole.
Right, right. Very
Thank you.
interesting, sir. Right. So we heard about the technology and trends, but as Mr. Rao Subramaniam also mentioned, due to the pandemic situation, IT leaders are now tackling these new challenges like facilitating hybrid working environments and ensuring a skills match for future success and other things. So, what are the key challenges IT leaders will face in 2022? And I'll ask Mr. Rajesh to share his thoughts on this.
Yeah, so post pre-pandemic, the situation was different. Post-pandemic, people have changed the way of working, and there's a mixed mode that is coming in, new normal that has come in, and eventually the cloud adoptions and distribution of your entire manufacturing data using different technologies has improved, or it has been taken into a shape, so that people can access their data across from anywhere, from everywhere. So that has bring a different dimension actually in terms of security. So in coming days in 2022, once your entire architecture is distributed in terms of data, so your data, how do you actually safeguard your data would be a key point, okay, that people have to look into. Okay, the way they want to actually secure the data and the accessibility. These are the two key areas that would be more challenging for the entire manufacturing industry, and even the entire posture will also change, right? Apart from that, one more aspect that is very, very important for us, and in fact, we are also facing in our organization also, retaining the correct skill set. So, adopting new technologies is one aspect of it, and retaining and sustaining it is another aspect of it. So, It can be from our partners' point of view. It can be from our internal team perspective. The skill gap or the skill retention would be a major challenge going forward in 2022. This is what is my 2 pointers that I want to actually come up with.
Right. Thanks, sir. So, Mr. Supakar, the challenges you foresee in 2022.
Well, Rajesh has already covered a couple of the points, and honestly, we all the challenges are common for all of us. You all know, and these are major challenges, known challenges that we have. So I will the challenges that been mentioned by Rajesh is applicable in my case also, and I would just elaborate a little bit on those and add a couple of more from my end. And the most important part is, of course, your that managing your data, the data protection, which Rajesh has rightfully has highlighted. Uh, uh, these days we see never seen before kind of security threats are coming up just like that, the every other day. So, combating this ever-growing cybercrime threat would be one of the challenges, which Rajesh has touched upon. Second one, of course, the shortage of appropriate, talents, upskilling the existing resources, bridging the skill gap. That is going to be a major concern and a major challenge. And yes, there are certain other things, right? Like now, IT governance and compliance in this kind of setup, in this new normal. Adhering to that is going to be one of the other challenges, major challenges, adhering to IT governance and compliance requirements. Uh, and then we have got your resistance to change. As we bring in more and more kind of technologies to adapt to this new normal, we are honestly we are going to experience some resistance to change from the internal users. That is obviously would be a challenge. And last but not the least is getting sponsorship, right budget, the buy-off, because it's not easy to calculate and define and quantify the ROI against digital transformations. It's not that easy. So getting budget becomes convincing the topmost decision-making management becomes very tough, and securing the budget. So, in my opinion, mostly these are the challenges that
Right.
I am expecting for the IT industry.
Right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pradipta, the challenges for you that you foresee in this coming year, the ongoing
Uh,
year, sorry.
Exactly, it is already that it is in place where most of the the workforce we can talk about during the pandemic. It has been all moved towards work from anywhere. The scenario that earlier thought process was in the especially in the manufacturing industry, people should come to office and they have to come to the plant to execute those things, right? So that the cyber security is one of the challenges where the people are moving from one location to working from anywhere. The threat landscape being expanded to there is no boundary. Earlier there is a boundary. It is the office. We can protect the data or protect that assets, information assets. Today it has gone to the people's hand. They work from anywhere. So that is one of this. And second challenges is more of the way that digital transformations are happening. The threats on the cyber security is also happening on that perspective. If you talk about the OT or industrial technology, if you're talking about here, the most of the devices today is not to be there published everything to be internet side of it or the public network side of it. Okay, so most of that vulnerabilities lies over there. Even though that legacy equipments, whether we can talk about the SCADA or PLC or any other systems, it is all most of not on the age where it can support to that all the protocols, all that technology it is bringing to the table or in the IT perspective. So definitely that is one of the challenges of the legacy part of it, and making into the remotely the workforce supposed to control and manage those equipment in the remotely. Those is one where the cyber security challenges, the OT security is paramount here. That is what the another challenge is. The third challenges is most of all We know that today the lot of data after doing digital transformation, we put a lot of sensor into the systems. Okay, where the data goes, then we can move the data for the meaningful uses. Okay, that we need to have that, like, analysis of, like analytics, and doing those into a certain places to do the meaningful outcome of it. So that is what the challenges we can see, and precisely Mr. Subhakar has already highlighted the budget. The thought process was always that that is the challenges for us to justify certain thing, tangible, intangible. Of course, that I agree with him, because that is another major challenges of the thought process, because the way the technology is disrupting that industry, and the industry 4.0 is, like, already in place, like, most of the organization adopting, that is the way forward, as I said. So definitely that is the one challenges we have to shift the thought process. Again, the shifting that technology to the new advanced technology, definitely that is again coming, it's the cost, right? And there is a lot of tangible intangible benefit, and we can't show those things in the pen and paper, like, to justify the ROI or TCO per se, those things. So those are the things. The cyber security, you have the technology adoption, digital transformation, disrupting completely era of it, and budget is one of the major concern, where we can see that the business people to have that ROI or some kind of value out of those investments. So those are the
Right, right.
few things. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patro. Very interestingly, you've led me on to my next question, where cyber criminals are getting very active nowadays, not just in manufacturing but all across. But coming to the manufacturing industry, Mr. Ramasubramaniam, how do you see the manufacturing industry combating this cyber security issues more efficiently?
Yeah. So when we are talking about cybersecurity posture as well as cyber resilience, especially for manufacturing industry, I am taking the view of Indian context to compare it. When we are talking about manufacturing industry vis-a-vis with BFSI sector or banking sector, so, in the recent time post COVID pandemic, it is gaining momentum. So, everyone are gearing up and then having awareness on why there is such a more and more targets are happening on manufacturing. Else, previous to that, last 2 years, the awareness within the organization, whether it's a top management or operating management, it was little less. Having seen about various attacks which are disrupting the manufacturing industries today, there are several threat vectors we can classify within the manufacturing industries. The threat vectors are like the IoT and OT, which are essential today. There are many awareness are happening today. Else, it was thinking about only emails or servers or endpoints kind of a thing. So today the threat vectors have gone beyond these common threat vectors like servers, networks, or web applications or cloud kind of a thing. Now, in addition to these threat vectors, there are other new set of threat vectors on IoT, OT, then smart products. We are hearing many frauds as well as cyber attacks are being targeted on smart products also. When we are talking about the players who are playing this within the organization to protect the security environment within the organization, we classify into three different players who are responsible directly or indirectly. The first and foremost is the IT team or information security team, who has larger responsibility to protect the environments. Then the second players are contract or partner resources who are part and parcel of manufacturing organization. So for the employees used to think that NVI information security or cyber security team is there, they will take care of everything. So they are protecting the data or the assets, critical assets. But nowadays, there is an increasing awareness within employees also that, in fact, we are also emphasizing that it's not only the responsibility of information security team, but also it's responsibility of the employees as well as the management team. Coming to the third set of players are the partner resources or direct or indirect employees from the partner resources who are part of the manufacturing environments. So it is essential that they are also aware of. So having seen about various threat vectors as well as the threats, now let us see that how we can stop these cyber criminals or attacks and improve the cyber resilience score or cyber posture of the company, a manufacturing organization. From information security team, naturally there are four elements which we used to tell that patching. That's the first step, which is very essential. The cyber security team has to ensure that all assets, endpoint servers are patched regularly. Antivirus with the latest updates is a must. The third one is when we are talking about bringing that awareness, it's the responsibility of the cybersecurity as well as IT team, as well as HR to bring the awareness to various players within the organization, directly or indirectly, supporting the organization. And when we are talking about critical assets, hardwares, critical users, it's good to have the analysis, log analysis, as well as log monitoring, incident monitoring. So security incident event management tools are available, and when we are pulling out the logs out of that SIM, and then we can understand even user behaviors also, as well as protect the environment in a better way. And some of the aspects for operating team, especially the employees, are first, someone was talking about the adoption. So adoption is very key, and also they should be aware about basic hygiene of cybersecurity. So there are various programs on awareness can be conducted. We can also identify security champions, recognize them with due certifications, rewards, conduct mock drills to understand the security posture within the company, and also frequent security assessments on critical environment is essential at a regular frequency. So within information security as well as IT teams should not think that it is a cyber security team job as well as IT team job. So there is a cohesiveness which is very essential, so that the observations and the remediations can be taken up seriously on time.
Right.
So finally, of late, we are also noticing that physical security is gaining momentum within organizations. There are various video analytics can be used to identify anyone penetrating into critical environments, maybe on-premise server environments or switches, kind of a thing. It can be done. And when I'm talking about OT and IoT environments, so which is very essential for the manufacturing organizations, and even logging also can be done, log analysis can be done for these environments, and patching for OT environments is also essential. And unmanaged equipments endpoints should be monitored regularly. That's a very important aspect. With more and more smart machines, robotics are happening, more and more unmanaged computers are also presently available within the shop floor. That's very important. So that's all I would like to say, and have a constant reviews and constant awareness to the entire manufacturing team, that will protect the environment and safeguard from any threats.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rajesh, would you like to add on to the elaboration that Mr. Ramasubramanian just made?
Yeah, so he has already actually elaborated most of the things. So on top of it, only I can add one thing, that every organization should have a framework in place, in terms of security framework in place, which will take care of the entire diverse environment currently we are into because of this pandemic and digital transformations. The proper controls has to be built and each and every area wise, so that it can be audited at a regular interval of time, and to minimize the risk that we are carrying because of this new kind of environment that has come into picture. So this is what on top of it I can add on it. And
Right.
rest of the things are operations. That's okay. Fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pradipta, if you would like to add anything to the discussion here.
Of course, that cyber security is always paramount for any enterprises, which is for big and the larger enterprises. Where if you see the trend now, like if you compare to 2020 and 21, especially for the ransomware, which has been data leak is happening 82%. Okay, the cases from 2020 to 2021, if you see that it's gone high, it is going towards the upward side of it. Similarly, if you see that more of the advisories are coming towards, earlier those days it is a BFSI industry, but today it is most of the advisories is coming for that manufacturing and engineering side of it. Okay, and lot of places we have seen that these crimes are most of the e-crime, I can say, instead of the targeted attack. See, there are different type of attacks it is happening. It is whether e-crime, it is almost all 52 to 49 to 52% of e-crime which is happening across, whether it is through the ransomware or the malware or might be the cryptojacking, anything those perspective. And 18% was in target attack, might be the state sponsorship or might be certain sophisticated target attack to certain business, whether it is a health or insurance business or might be the and conglomerates. It's all there, everywhere it is happening. And the critical infrastructure is the key. You might have seen that, let us in the western there is an attack, huge attack been happening into those critical infrastructures. Okay, so my point is that the e-crime will be or might be targeted attack will be going to be increased. And if you see the shift is happening towards the trend is going upward. And what we are as the enterprises or that as a organization they are going to do it. Definitely, we have that. I think already we have highlighted for that the frameworks, a different framework we have today. We can talk about as a SASE framework. Okay, secure access and secure Azure service assets. How we can secure our environment through the third process is coming to the zero trust security. You have to no trust to anything. That is where it is come through that the zero trust framework. And second point is we'll be thinking about more of the managed security services. Today, if you SIMS doesn't as a managed security services, you should think about the EDR, MDR, SDR. This is what the generation is moving towards. If I'm putting ADR, MDR, that not going to suffice for us, protecting the complete environment. You need to have the SOAR kind of environment. It is a framework where you need to have intelligent on life. That means if something has happened, in the mid of around early morning of 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, you may not be noticed that it is happening, or there is no manual visibility is there with you, right? So it should be taken automated response. That is what is important. You have to do the automation more and then respond also on that live scenario. If something is already damaged for 5 hours, then you are already damaged. We are already in that place where we have already gone, everything has been compromised. So how we can do that? That is your XDR can play the role to the framework of the SOAR. Okay, so we need to adopt those part of it. Today, the endpoint is no more only the vulnerability. We have to protect the endpoint as ADR per se, or the network access security, what I say about the SASE kind of framework, where we have to protect our perimeter security on the network side of it. Then we have the web security, then the cloud security. Then we have the privileged access. Then again that IoT, and I talk about more of the digital transformations are happening. Definitely we cannot protect or we cannot restrict anything not to be, because it's giving the business value, right? So definitely we have to adapt those, and we have to see certain control and effective control, I can say. It is not the check the box or tick the box, because most of things we say, okay, this is the mandatory requirement, let's put it this. But we need to have that effective controls in place, and the review mechanism is important, and the risk assessment is we have to do regularly. It is not the one time or yearly job. It is that every quarter at least that IT risk assessment to be happening if any changes, critical changes are happening in the environment. So these are the few things we have to take into the consideration while we are talking about the cyber crimes. But nevertheless, whatever you put in this scenario, uh, it is moral of, you can't guarantee that to the management to say that was 100% I'm sure. nothing is going to happen. No, because the zero day attacks are happening very frequently nowadays. Even though last 28th or 25th February, that the larger insurance broker is compromised. Okay, so completely it has been ransomware attacked and data leaked, and they have taken all encryption on the data. So it is a zero-day attack. Sometimes is we can't protect it, but you should have also incident management system in place, incident response system in place, where you should know if something has happened, what is the plan A, plan B, plan C. You need to execute immediately. Without
Right.
planning that point of time, designing that time is already, because every moment is, every second is valuable there. You have to take action on faster way, expediting that action in the faster way. So that is where I'm talking about more of the incident responses. That is a key
Absolutely.
element of those. And having said that, you should have your all control mechanisms in centrally are integrated. Whatever technology I discuss over here, or my panelists is already discussed about, it should be integrated approach. If it is silos, again there is again challenges will be coming to, detecting, again isolating, or doing the micro segmentations, whatever, a lot of technologies are in place, but that should be integrated and giving you the single dashboard to the CISO or the CIOs to taking action on priority and in the same time, not waiting and
Right.
wasting time into analyzing and doing the so much into where the issue comes in all those. So
Very,
that
very,
is what
very
I can.
pertinent. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patra. Very pertinent thoughts that you've shared, about the integration of technology. The next question, I'd like to open it to all the panelists, and I'll begin with Mr. Rupesh on this, that, there is belief also that the industry is grappling with the issue of technology shortage too. So how do you tackle this challenge? Mr. Rupesh, if we can begin with you on this.
So when you say technology shortage, you are talking about the availability of technologies or the resources who have the competency on those technologies. If
Well,
you may
sir, it,
clarify that point.
to begin with, yes, of course, the technology that is there, though we are talking that, the technology is the future, but I believe that the industry also, some parts believe that there is a shortage, skill shortage, of course, then, comes the next thing. But yes, technology shortage, if you can talk about that.
Okay, right. So when you say about technology shortage, I would not agree to this point that there is a shortage of technology. So probably there is could be a case then the technology is not matured to the level, or the people or implementation partners are not fully equipped to leverage the capability of the technology to the extent a user community or a particular organization needs. So that is one piece. Second important element is many technologies are at different stages. With the passage of time and with the adoption of those technologies in solving business problems, they are getting mature. But initially, they are just as technologies, and there are risks associated with that. As we discussed about, lot of discussion happened about cyber risks. So any technology, if I introduce in my production environment and it can create risks to me, then it is a thing which needs to be taken care very, very seriously. So that is one element. Second is, of course, as I started off with the point that technologies are available, but the people who have the right skill sets to implement those technologies is a challenge, and is genuinely a challenge, because we have seen in most of the cases people claim and they have resources, but their expertise is maximum at the intermediate level and not at the expert or advanced level, which ideally is needed at the real production environment. So that is a challenge. That challenge is being solved by multiple ways. One way could be, as we say, that okay, you do trainings and all this stuff internally, and second, you also leverage the ecosystem in terms of partners. But still, that is one area where everybody is grappling with, and they are coming out of it slowly and steadily, and it will not be the same case for each and every technology. So as more and more business cases will come, technology will mature, more capabilities will be built, and this problem will be solved. And
Right.
but again, the technologies are also evolving in parallel. So it is not that technology which which capability or the functionality a particular technology had 2 years back, the same functionalities are available today. So they will also grow, and it is in our interest only. But yes, for that, learning, unlearn, and relearn kind of a thing has to be there in the entire ecosystem, at the leadership level, at the consulting level, at every level. That has to be there, and only then it can be solved. But I believe it is a good problem to have. Not
Right.
having technology is not good. So of course there are technologies to solve our business problems, and though of course it takes time to mature, and that is the reason many times you try to first do the POCs, or first try to do at a particular plant or at a particular level, which is not that much uh, risk intensive for the organization as a whole. And once you get confident, you deploy it or scale it out at the larger level. So you have ways and means to address it. But yes, uh, probably I will not say it a problem, but yes, there is a concern around it, and it is a evolving thing. And I believe with every evolving thing, these sort of challenges will always be there, which is something not new. And we all as leaders have passed through this in the past, and I believe we should be able to address this to the optimum level for our respective organizations.
Right, right. Thank you, Mr. Nain. Mr. Subakar, if I can ask you to, share your quick views on this.
No, as I stated earlier also, that there is no shortage of technologies. I don't think there is any shortage of technology. So when there is no such challenge, so no question of addressing it comes.
Absolutely. Okay,
So
thank you.
that's my bit.
Thank you. Sure, sure. Mr. Rajesh, anything you'd like to add to it?
If there is a shortage, I would say that we would like to address it by binding into a process. Okay, maybe we can do this work in a manual fashion if we cannot deploy any particular technology in specific area, and putting proper controls on it. Maybe the efficiency can increase, but yes, adoption of technology will definitely enhance the efficiency level of that particular area, piece of area that we want to address in the in manufacturing industry. So my take is that if there is, I mean, almost everywhere the technologies options are always there. But if there is somewhere it is not there, we have to build processes and controls to bring up the efficiency. That's the only way that we can handle it.
Right, right, right. Mr. Ramasubramanian, anything you'd like to add?
I would like to add few points on this that we have to think about the technology. Yeah, that's okay, but affordability towards the technology, that's important. So BFSI or a insurance industry can afford to spend, but manufacturing industries, especially the mid-size or small-size organizations, affordability to spend on that technology it is the point from my side. Okay, so any technology in the life cycle, when it is launched, certainly it will be highly priced, and when we are talking about no alternates, then you can imagine the kind of pricing that will be available. So in Indian context, when we are talking about, there are two aspects. The first one is that affordability to have the technology. The second aspect is that affordability to sustain in making use of the technology, in a sense that continue investing as well as making use of the technology. So there is a dependency with the partners. When the technology comes with high pricing, then naturally the role of partners also will be on the higher side. Any new technologies which is launched uh, at a nascent stage in the maturity life cycle, then naturally it will be highly priced. And when it comes for the affordability, there are shortcomings. We have to accept that when we are operating out of India. So
Right,
that's
right.
my point. But of course, in today's world, there are subscription based pricing models, licenses are worked out. There are new innovations have been brought in by the vendors also. We have to thank them. so that even a small or mid-sized organizations are affordable to pursue these technologies. That way, it has been designed. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pradipta, your 2 cents on this.
Yeah, technology is always evolving, and there is no limitations on those part of it. It is only that, like, where we can see the value engineering. You need to see that how much business value you can bring into the table while implementing the technology and the use cases on those particular sector or industry or those processes. As Mr. Rajesh has already highlighted, the process efficiency, if you can bring into the table, it is not only the technology to be in place. We can have also doing the re-engineering of those processes to have those in place. So it is all about, like, which maturity level of the organization as well as the technology maturity level. So we need to merge where is the value is coming out of for the business perspective. So we have to align on those, and we can adopt the technology in line. If not, then of course there is a different of the options is also evolving around. So we can add those as a plan
Right,
A,
right.
B, and C. Thank you.
Right. Thanks,
Thank
thanks, sir. Mr. Subakar, if I could ask you, it's not just adoption, but adoption of right technology that is vital for success. So, as an, how can the IT leaders ensure this adoption of the right technology?
See, of course, it is duty of the IT leaders to ensure that. And the IT leaders would be able to ensure that only when the IT leader understands that our role has moved from being the traditional IT service delivery to a more strategic role. IT leaders are now one of those on the table uh, who are the drivers of business strategy. So for IT leaders, it is very important to understand both technology and its business application. So for our role is mostly now what we need to do. Earlier, what used to happen? Earlier, earlier the business stakeholders used to ask us. They used to give us requirement, and our role was to deliver it. Earlier, it was. Now the role has transitioned to where we have to be not only aware of technologies, we have to be aware of our business processes, the challenges that the business is facing while you're achieving the objective. We should be able to read that, and we should actually come up with the requirement and how we address it, how we do it. So the yes, it is very the role is or our input has become very essential when it comes to adopting the relevant technology. I would say
Right.
not adopting technology for the sake of adopting technology, relevant technology, technology that is relevant to the achieving of my business objective.
Right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Rupesh, if you could seek your views on this question, that not just adoption, but adoption of right technology. So, how, you as an IT leader would ensure that?
So I believe on this, the main point will remain same, which has been discussed about we being the technology advisor to the business. We have to see that okay, this is the business problem, and how technology with the use of technology we can solve it. There could be many means or ways to do it, and then critically we have to evaluate all the technologies in terms of cost, in terms of the right fitment into the whole ecosystem, because it is not going to be used as an independent technology. It has to work in tandem with other technologies which are already deployed in the ecosystem. Thirdly, could be in terms of the capability or technical skill set available in the organization. So later on, it is not about only about implementation, but later on, the support is equally important. And lastly, the implementation partner ecosystem is also important from technology perspective, that which are your main partners, whether they are there in for this technology or not. So it is a combination of many things. So I would not say one or the other. So ultimately you have to take a right decision, which in terms of one, uh, whatever problem you are going to solve, that is being solved at the minimum cost. Second, it is a solution which you can support in the long run. Third, it has to be scalable. So if we want to get into more and more, and suppose deployment at various locations or various businesses, it is scalable from that angle. And the implementation or support ecosystem available within your geography. So these are a couple of points. And lastly, the kind of skill sets you want to groom within your organizations or ecosystem you want to create yourself. So if it is aligning to all these elements, I believe you are good with that. And for that, of course, you are the champion, and you should take this responsibility to identify the right technology and right partner as far as implementation goes. Of course, adoption is very much important, but for that you have to work very, very closely, collaboratively with the business teams.
Right. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ramasubramaniam, your final word before we wrap up this discussion.
So IT leaders have to be omnipresent in the technology world to explore various technology evaluations that's happening. And there are various platforms available today for IT leaders to support them to understand various technologies. Every technology is a right technology when it is rightly implemented. Okay, so how to understand the technology is a right fit. So business IT alignment is an important aspect. So the business team defines the need or objective or the pain areas. IT team to understand clearly, precisely what is expected, and then that gives an idea for the IT leaders to identify the right technologies. And as a caution, even the IT leaders can experiment that, conduct some proof of concepts, pilot it, and then once it is workable, then roll out horizontal deployments can happen. Primarily, what I would like to say is engage the right stakeholders in this journey, technology journey. So every technology will become a right technology.
Right, perfect. So we are bang on time, and it was, wonderful listening to, the thoughts of our esteemed panelists, where, of course, the resistance to change, but is going to be there. But of course, change is inevitable, and technology definitely is going to be transforming the, the manufacturing sector just like the others. So thank you so much to all the panelists for your presence here and for your, taking out time for us. Please accept the small token of appreciation from us. We would like to present a certificate to Mr. Rupesh Nen. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your presence and your wisdom. Thank you so much, sir. The next, thank you. Mr. Shubhakar Rudra, thank you so much for being here amongst us this evening. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Rajesh Satta, thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful listening to your insights. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Ramasubramaniam R, thank you so much, sir. It was pleasure listening to you and to your thoughts. And to Mr. Pradeep Patru, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sparing your valuable time to be here with us. It was wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ji.
Thank you.